Hi, this is Chris Darrell with Everyday VBA. In this video, we're going to be looking at the Vlookup. Now, typically I do advanced Excel coding, kind of more under the hood type stuff, but I did want to take some time to look at one of Excel's more powerful functions, and that's the Vlookup. And it stands for vertical lookup. So what we're going to do is we're going to dig right in. It is super confusing when you first look at this function because you're like, wait a sec, what does it do? How does it work? And so I've written a macro here to hopefully make it more understandable. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to type in here Vlookup. You'll notice that it gives me that formula. And then I just want to remind you that you can actually click on this little FX up here. So if you don't know what a individual function has or what its requirements are, you can always click on that FX. And when you click on these, it will tell you what you're supposed to put in here. So the lookup is the value to be found in the first column of the table and can be value referenced in text or a string. What is the table? Table is kind of the what we would call in VBA the range. The column index is essentially the column index, which doesn't make sense once you've kind of seen this for the first time. And then range lookup, typically that's going to almost always be false. And I will show you an example where you can actually use true and it does make sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to match this. We're going to go here. I put that in the wrong spot. Of course I did. Let's say we want to look up Brian. Now all I'm doing is I'm matching what I have from up above. We're going to go to column 3 and then I'm going to type in false. You can also put in 0 if you want, and you'll notice that that returns 10252. Now, what my macro does is essentially it's going to outline which each one of these is. So first thing it's going to look for is your table array, and then you'll notice that this table array, it turned all gray, and then it's going to search down the left-hand column, and it's going to search until it finds Brian, and then it's going to go over 3 columns. So your index, your column index is 3. So say, for example, we wanted to look for Davis, right? Davis would be a good thing to look up. Okay. You'll notice that it goes down there. It looks for Davis, which is right here. But since it's not in my table array, remember we've got that table array right here. Since it's not in that table array, it's actually going to return an NA error. And it's actually not even going to get to an index where it returns 3. So let's go back to, let's look for Karina. And as you know by now, you'll know that it's going to come down here and it's going to go over 3. But let's say we don't want to go to 3, we want to go to 2 because we want to see what her title is. So if we click the button, it's going to come there. It's going to go across over to 2 and it's going to return sales rep. And obviously I can do this all along the function, but I think visually it's very helpful when you can actually see what the code is doing. So now that we've you have a visual representation of what that looks like. So before we do that, let's actually change. Let's go to F5 instead of G5 on this. So if I come in here and I go, I'm going to make this F5, and you'll notice that I'm looking for Brian. Brian's not in that left-hand column, and therefore it's going to give me that NA error. So in order to return what I would want to return, I would need to actually be looking for one of these names. So let's look for Davis. Let's go out. In this case, now 2 columns, since my 2 columns starts from my furthest left, 2 columns will only get me to the title. But let's say I want the first name. The first name actually is going to be in the left-hand column, or the number 2 index in my table array, and so this will actually give me the last name or the first name, which essentially is Sarah when I press this. So it's found Davis. It's going to go over 2, find Sarah, and it returns Sarah. And you'll notice I could do the same thing here if I went Davis. Now I do need to put that in parentheses in order for that to return, and you'll notice that I have 3 instead of 2, and Sarah returns. But essentially that's how that works. I think that's really helpful to see how it works because otherwise it doesn't make sense. So let's say that we went -1. It's going to give us an error because there is no -1. It's going to give us, it doesn't give us anything because my code doesn't do that. but it has to be a positive. If I returned 1, it would return Davis, because that is my first index. If I put in 100, let's not put in 100, let's put in 6. So if I put in 6, it's going to come down here, it's going to go to Davis. It found it. It's going to go all the way out here, and it says, wait a sec, I've got a reference error. And so we can do the same thing here, and you'll notice that we get the exact same error. Now, the cool thing about these VLOOKUPs is you can do a ton of stuff. I mean, if you're looking to move stuff from one point to the other, you can use a VLOOK all the time. And remember, we have this function lookup that makes it so much easier, so much better to understand. And so I hope this gives you kind of a good idea of what a VLOOKUP is and a better understanding and really how to use it. It will save you a ton of time. I hope you enjoyed.